Also says he thinks we'll be back flying by June and defends his company's slow processing of refunds in his first broadcast interview since the crisis began.
People don't understand the scale of the challenge currently being faced by airlines on refunds. In a normal month, we process about 10,000 refunds for occasional flight cancellations, things like that. We're staffed up for that. At the moment, we're working with about a quarter of that normal refund staff because of social distancing and bans on people travelling to work. But we're dealing just in the month of April with 10 million refunds because all of the flights have been cancelled. So we have 25% of the staff dealing with about 10,000 times the normal level of refunds. Now, we are processing refunds, but what we try to explain to everybody is it's going to take us weeks and months to get around to everybody, but we will get to you eventually if what you want is a cash refund.
The French government allows tour operators up to 18 months to pay a refund. Airlines don't have that sort of leeway. Would you like to see that being introduced as an expedient?
Honestly, I don't think it makes any difference, because, whether it's 18 months or not, we will still get to you, I think, certainly within the 18-month period. But what we're asking most people to do, just to help us ease the backlog, is, look, huge numbers of people who fly with Ryanair fly with us regularly. Just move your booking to July, August, September, when at least we know we will be back flying with some kind of restrictions. But if you want a cash refund, that's fine. Well, as we've explained, but the cash refund is going to take us many months to get round to, and we're getting round to it in sequence. Even once our people are allowed to come back to work here in head office, we will have to spool up and add many more people to process refunds.
Now, you said this week that if the government allows you to start flying again, but has to insist on the middle seat being kept empty, you're not going to start flying again. Why is that?
Well, there's two things. One, the middle seat delivers nothing in terms of social distancing. There'll be no social distancing boarding an aircraft, getting off an aircraft. Even if you kept the middle seat free, that is less than 2.5 feet of space compared to the social distance requirement is 2 meters. And the person sitting behind you and in front of you in the aisle seat or in the window seat is closer to you than even that 2.5 feet. So social distancing in an airline tube is as unimplementable as it is on the underground and on trains. But what we're saying to government is, if you want to impose that non-effective social distancing measure, you pay for the middle seat. The airlines around Europe generally operate with a profit margin of about 4 or 5%, with a load factor of 85%. And if you mandate and tell us we can only operate with a 60% load factor, then frankly, we will all lose money, we won't fly.
What are the implications for the business and for jobs if that scenario doesn't unfold as you're expecting?
Then honestly, we don't know. We just have to keep watching it. I mean, what we've tried to do is we've kept everybody or almost everybody in employment at the moment. Now, with the benefit, thankfully, of the various payroll support schemes in the UK and Ireland and Spain and Italy. So we're keeping almost all of our pilots and cabin crew in employment. I think that's important. We're topping it up where we can. So we are ready to come back pretty quickly. But, if that situation changes, we've certainly guaranteed to all of our people that we will maintain the payroll through April and through May. If it continues beyond that, I think we will have to look at some job losses, because the closer we get to the winter schedule, I think the closer we will be that there will be some job losses. But we're doing everything in our power to keep people on the payroll.
Lufthansa have applied for 10 billion euros of state aid from the German government. Virgin Atlantic has asked the UK government for financial support. Should they get it?
No. I mean, Lufthansa is like a crack cocaine junkie looking for state aid. They're already getting huge payroll support from the German government. What do you need more state aid for? Actually, we don't have many other costs at the moment because we're all grounded. But if you're getting state payroll support, as we and IAG and other airlines do, what do you need the 10 billion for? And by the way, it's not just 10 billion. They're looking for 10 billion from the German government. They're looking for nearly $1 billion from the Austrian government, from the Swiss government. I mean, it's just, they are off their heads. They see this, I think, as an opportunity to get one last huge quantity of state aid so they can go around and buy up everybody when this is all over. Virgin Atlantic is ridiculous. You've an airline, but this is Branson's second go at trying to fleece the British taxpayer for state aid. He tried it with Flybe, which was owned by Delta himself and a New York VC company. Now you have Virgin Atlantic owned by Delta and a Caribbean island-based non-resident billionaire. Frankly, if he's worried about Virgin, he should write the check himself. It's not like he's short of money. You know, his Virgin Galactic investment is worth about 1.3 billion today. So sitting in the Virgin Islands as a tax exile, asking the British government to bail you out when you have more than sufficient resources to bail out Virgin Atlantic yourself is not something I believe that should be considered. I think it's inevitable when we do go back to flying, and I think late June, early July is a reasonable date at the moment. I think both our passengers and our staff will all be wearing masks or face coverings. I think we will be doing temperature controls on all passengers and staff at the airports, not unlike what they're doing in Asia at the moment. And if you look at the experience in China, they're back up to about 70% of their pre-COVID flight programs with load factors of about 50 to 60%. So, you know, the world will recover reasonably quickly. I think flying will recover faster because we will all be discounting prices and hotels will be discounting prices. But, you know, flying will be somewhat different in that I think we'll all be wearing face masks certainly until the end of the year.